Don't start marching to New Orleans just yet. Get ready for the most complete recap on Super Bowl 58 here in Las Vegas. We're breaking down the sports stories impacting your favorite city. And my panel is so good on the sports beat, it should kind of be a sin to have them here all together, I think. City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is City Beat.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on Sin City Beat. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Thanks for hanging with us. Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the sports world here in Vegas through the eyes of the sports reporters and storytellers leading the charge. On today's show, we're recapping Super Bowl 58. Joining the action today, we got Case Kiefer, assistant sports editor of the Las Vegas Sun. We have our very own sports reporter, Mariah Janos with Fox 5 Las Vegas, and Steve Cofield, the host of the Cofield and Company show on ESPN Las Vegas. Great to have you guys with us. Thanks for joining in. So let's dive in right now. We're going to be starting with Super Bowl 58 and everything that really played out on the field, the X's and the O's, all that kind of stuff. So, Case, to me, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, 3 Super Bowls in 5 seasons, down 10-3 at halftime. Are you surprised that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs pulled out this win?
I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, like you said, third time. We've seen him do it before. And now every one of these Super Bowls, he's been down double digits, which is kind of crazy to think. I guess what could surprise you a little bit is just how they totally broke down the San Francisco defense once they started getting more and more chances. You say X's and O's. What stands out this game to me, I mean, both offenses kind of struggled. I mean, I know we ended up having 47 points. It went over the closing total of 46.5 betting-wise, which is kind of going to be a crazy footnote. But, you know, you really look at what the San Francisco defense was doing, and I thought they executed at a really high level for most of the game. We'd seen Patrick Mahomes throughout the season actually did have a little bit of trouble when teams can just effectively rush for, drop into zone. Beyond that, I think he had 10 interceptions, like second in the league on the year against that. You saw the 49ers get one. They really, I thought, defended him well, executed higher, as a whole game perspective. But those really big, when we needed a wrinkle, when you needed something different to come up, I think the Chiefs in those high leverage moments really came through. The Trent McDuffie blitz, at the end from the slot on the third down play that where the 49ers could have conceivably run out the time. I thought that was huge. So I thought the 49ers as a whole played just about as well as you could, but the Chiefs in those key moments just came through, and it certainly was Patrick Mahomes, but I thought it was some other guys
and
too.
And that's really what it's all about. What's crazy is, Steve Spagnuolo and that defense, unsung heroes really for the entire season for that team. But Steve Wilks, the DC, got fired. How did that guy get fired?
This has me fired up because, as you said, the San Francisco defense is a major reason why Kansas City was held to just 19 points. They shut down, they sacked Patrick Mahomes 3 times. They came up with major third down stops. To blame the defensive coordinator when the defense played as good as you could ask for is mind-blowing to me. To me, Kyle Shanahan drove this bus right off the cliff, and he's looking for someone to point fingers at. But when you look at containing Patrick Mahomes, the 49ers defense did it just about as good as anyone possibly could with their cover 4 defense and their pass rush. It was elite, especially in that first half. I don't understand how Steve Wilks could go under fire for this one.
Is he the scapegoat?
Yes, 100%.
So Wilks deserves a little bit of the blame because late in the game he got conservative and he let Mahomes dink and dunk. But you're right, Shanahan is to blame, and his record late in games, in important games, is horrendous.
Zero finesse.
Now, do we think, let's just playing devil's advocate here, is it okay? I mean, he's lost to Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Is that, the two goats of the sport.
But the point is, you know who you're going against, so you have to coach differently. So he got aggressive coming out at the beginning of the half instead of running the rock, and then at the end of the game, in the most important moments, he settles for field goals. If you watch the AFC on a regular basis, and if you're a Raiders fan, you know what happens. There are about 8 guys in NFL history with 2 minutes left in the game. If you give them the ball back and they can win with a touchdown, you're dead meat. So you have to coach at a different level.
Yeah, and I think what happened was, and we've heard this, he kind of said at the press conference, defense, the reason they stopped, pushing the rock, running the ball with C-Mac is because they were going 3 and out, and they were getting worried that, if we keep going 3 and out, we can't maybe establish the run when you're going 3 and out.
They were also trying to have him run between the tackles. That's not going to work out for him, especially with this Spagnuolo defense. They know what they're doing. CMC can't get through those. He has to go around the outside, or you got to pass it downfield.
What do you?
I'm with you guys that Kyle Shanahan is more to blame, but I guess where I differ a little bit is I kind of feel like Steve Wilkes' fate was sealed. I would have been really interested if they won the game. I think it would have been framed differently, but I think maybe it would have been a mutually parting of ways, seeing what else was out there. There was a lot of rumblings going into the game that Kyle Shanahan was unhappy with Steve Wilkes. I think you saw some episodes on the sideline in the 2 playoff games. The defense as a whole, I think it's taken a little bit too much heat. You look at the year as a whole, their numbers are as good as anyone in the league, but I think those 2 playoff games where they had to kind of rally from behind, I think there was some tension there, and I think it just wasn't a great fit. So I think Steve Wilkes might have been gone either way.
This isn't just on the Super Bowl and the playoffs. I think it was going on all season. And there is the theory out there that Kyle Shanahan's more the thinker. He's not a yeller. And the past DCs they had, D'Amico Ryans and especially Robert Saleh, were fireballs. They yelled, and maybe his thought is, hey, I need someone fiery, and Wilkes is more of the conservative guy, more of the thinker. So personality change. We'll see who they hire. We won't have the correct answer until we see who he hires.
Right. I think it's fascinating on my end because I just think it always comes down to, are you a team that's going to really double down on your identity? Or are you going to try to find other ways to beat a team when you're put in those situations in the big game? And I think the Chiefs this season, having people to throw the ball to beyond Travis Kelce all season long, Rashee Rice and certain guys stepped up later throughout the year, but rookie receivers they developed later into their first season. I think it's remarkable that this team was able to find new ways to beat teams and still at some points really double down on who they are as a team. So having that happy medium, to me, that really is the key.
Well, I feel like that was the tale of 2 halves in the Super Bowl. You saw the 49ers come out. They had some trick plays in there, Juwan Jennings throwing the touchdown pass, but it felt like at the half, Kansas City made the adjustments to know what's coming in the second half, and the 49ers didn't. They kind of retreated a little bit when it's like, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to switch something up if it's not working. You have to be prepared for those changes, and you also have to be prepared for overtime.
I think the funniest thing is nobody's talking about Dre Greenlaw and this. He looked like my Uncle Lewis trying to go play, backyard football
so sad.
And get it all. He literally injured himself walking onto the field. That was an unspoken. I think people should be talking about that more.
I think there's a lot of small things like that people aren't talking about. I think this game is going to be not remembered for as close as it was. There's so many little things. If it just breaks differently, we're not talking about this dynasty. We're talking about the 49ers winning. Drake Greenlaw, when a linebacker goes down, I'm usually the guy that's like, all right, in the end, linebackers don't really mean that much. They're going to be fine. They have good depth. But I think that was a huge moment of the game. How well were they covering Travis Kelce before that? Greenlaw was all over him. He's a really good guy in coverage. I thought they had a lot more problems with Travis Kelce after
definitely.
that.
Yep.
Guys, we have a lot more going on here with Sin City Beat. We're just getting started. Stick around because after the break, we're discussing Vegas as a host city. How did our home team do? Our hometown do, rather? Well, we'll tell you that.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
I'm telling you, that's a nice logo. I love that.
I was about to say that.
That's a nice logo. Welcome back to Sin City Beat. I know fans and the NFL are already looking to New Orleans for next year's Super Bowl. Then after that, the big game goes to Santa Clara on the Niners' home turf in 2026 and SoFi Stadium in Inglewood for 2027 where the Rams play. But let's talk about how Vegas played out as a host city. Mariah, the fact that Vegas even hosted a Super Bowl, for the longest time, it wasn't even a thought on people's minds. And now it seems like the entertainment capital of the world knocked it out of the park. What did you think? You covered the game. You covered all the action all week long.
Yeah.
How did we stack up?
It's funny because not only did we not expect to ever have a Super Bowl here, but we never even expect to have an NFL team here. So that was the first thing. And then the Super Bowl coming in. I think Vegas absolutely crushed it. There was something for fans of all ages. And I think what makes Vegas stand out opposed to SoFi or even Phoenix. Everything from what I heard in Phoenix and SoFi, everything's more spread out around the city. You had to go, drive a ways to go to different events, whereas everything was confined to this strip here. You got Mandalay Bay, and then you go across the way to Allegiant Stadium, and then there's everything in between. So I think just the setup of it was really convenient. I think no one knows how to host big events like this. Yes, the Super Bowl is huge, but we have big events here every single weekend. So this really wasn't some crazy turnaround where they don't know if they're going to pull it off. Vegas does it right, and opening night I thought was the coolest because it was the first time that it was being held in the stadium where the game was being played. The public was open to it, and it was a great chance for Vegas locals to get a taste of the Super Bowl, see what Allegiant Stadium is going to look like all dressed out without paying thousands of dollars to go to the game, because that's just not realistic for them.
Do you guys think, let's just say 123.4 million viewers. This was the most watched telecast of all time, ever. Did Vegas have a part in that, in being the most watched telecast ever?
Maybe a little tiny hand, but I think the much bigger hand was Taylor Swift, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
That boosted the
Are you
ratings.
a Swiftie, Case?
I am not a Swiftie, but I'll tell you what I am. I am a Las Vegas guy through and through. I know I haven't been here as long as Steve, but I've been here 13 years now. I've been to 4 other Super Bowls, or at least in one other Super Bowl week. And to what Mariah was saying, I think this was just, and I'm biased again, but so far the best. Most of these Super Bowl weeks, everything's so spread out. I feel like I'm spending half my time in traffic. I was spending some time in traffic this week too, of course, but that's because I live here. It was just so nice to have everything there, all the events. You could walk to the game, walk to the opening night. I thought Las Vegas absolutely killed it. I don't know if it contributed to the ratings, but I think it did a great job as a host city.
Steve, are we going to be exchanging friendship bracelets after the show? Tell us.
Am I the oldest male Swiftie in existence?
What is the Swift element?
Yes.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it was part of the ratings, and the numbers swelled to like 200 million total. The NFL is hot as a pistol right now, and Vegas as a Super Bowl city, we all talked about it. We were going to nail it. Everything is condensed into a 4-mile area. I will say next time around, I think it's ridiculous that they put them out at Lake Las Vegas. These are adults. These are professionals. I said it on radio. I'll say it here on this show. Guys like Boomer Esiason were saying, there's going to be a lot of trouble. Boomer played in an era where there were a lot of problems. One of his teammates went AWOL before one of their Super Bowls. Not to be harsh, but the 70s, 80s, that was a big drinking, drugging era.
No rules,
and he's judging players back then. I think players are more professional now. But yeah, as a Super Bowl city, Phoenix was okay. Miami, Tampa, getting around is a disaster. It's so spread out. I like LA, but it's all spread out there. No, we blow away every other city now. We should be in the rotation every 4 years.
I love it. And you think we're biased just because this is Sin City Beat? No, we're just telling you the honest truth. Guys, next up, we're asking a question no one wants to answer. No one. How do you stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Steve Cofield is a brave man, because we're going to attempt to answer this burning question after the break, and he's got first crack at it. It's the question plaguing 31 other NFL franchises. It's the question keeping fans, coaches, players, and even owners and executives up at night. How do you stop Patrick Mahomes? Steve Cofield, do you have the answer?
Yes. First of all, this game was close. And playoff games were close along the way. The Chiefs weren't 2 touchdowns better than everyone else. 2, we're in the salary cap era where now quarterbacks are making $50 million. More challenges are ahead in terms of roster building with the Chiefs. They're going to lose players. 3, Chris Jones is a free agent. Now, I know he said yesterday at the parade, I'm not leaving. Let's see what happens when someone blows away what Kansas City can offer. Because on the GM side and personnel side in Kansas City, they know what they're doing. They're not going to overpay people. So you've got Chris Jones and you've got L'Jarius Sneed. The job of the rest of the NFL is at least make the Chiefs pay. Don't lay back. Like we just saw in baseball, the Dodgers were allowed to scoop up every free agent and then do these deferred contracts. And everyone else is like, why didn't we think of that? You have to be ahead of the Chiefs in that regard. And here's the other thing, and I said it a couple of minutes ago. When you coach against the Chiefs, you have to coach aggressively. Never kick field goals. I'm going to throw someone out there, and you're all going to hate this, right? The master of solving the Chiefs and putting them in a position, and Chiefs fans feared this guy and his quarterback, Brandon Staley. Go ahead, make faces, right? But over the 2 years that he was there, when he was doing the right thing in terms of analytics and data and going forward on 4th down, Chargers went 2-2 against the Chiefs. The 2 wins the Chiefs got went to overtime.
Right.
Now, Herbert's great. You got to have a really good quarterback. But you never give the ball back to Mahomes with time left on the clock and kicking field goals. And I'm talking about going for it on 4th down like in the first quarter. Anything inside of 4th and 3, you're 40 on down, you go for it. Because if you trust your quarterback and your offense, you put the right amount of points on the board, and it puts them in a position where they can't do this dink and dunk stuff. They have to throw down the field. Be aggressive.
Let's dissect even deeper, because I think there's this narrative, okay, we're going to have these quarterbacks on rookie deals, on these cheap deals, so we can start spreading the wealth and paying all different types of personnel so you can have a loaded roster like the 49ers did. Look where that leaves you. So the thing is, you start having these situations, these franchises, Dak Prescott, these cap hits that these quarterbacks are making are big, big chunks of money. So it's starting to get weird in terms of, do you lean towards that Brock Purdy concept and how Russell Wilson won with the Seahawks on those rookie deals? Or are you going to need these elite level quarterbacks who can really stand toe to toe with Mahomes? Because last year, I mean, say what you want, but Hurts did match him toe to toe beyond that fumble.
Yeah, I think the only thing I take offense with what Steve said is that I would be making faces at the Brandon Staley thing. I think he knows me well enough to know I'm a big analytics guy. I love Staley at first. Obviously, it didn't end up going the way, but the NFL's really come to his way of thinking, too. We're seeing way more aggressive decisions. I think one gigantic mistake that was made in overtime, people say it was getting the ball. I don't think it was getting the ball. I think it was kicking the field goal at that 4th and goal down there. You can't do that and get Mahomes the ball back.
Hold on. So am I just hearing this right, everybody at home? You're saying this is not really a Mahomes. We're not talking about how incredible Mahomes is and how this guy is the second coming.
He's the best player. He's the best player in the world, but the gap is not as big as we're making it out to be. Look at how they won all these games. I mean, the Ravens turned the ball over twice in the end zone. The Bills, Stephon Diggs drops a pass. They miss a field goal. They won these games by a combined, 13 points, one of them in overtime. I don't see like there's this gigantic gulf. They lost 5 times in the regular season. I think it's closer than we're making it out to be.
Yeah, I think it comes down to your defense more so, and making sure you have at least a quarterback that can do his job on the other side of the ball. But if you look at it, Patrick Mahomes, if your pass rush is nasty, he was struggling. He had 4 turnover-worthy plays in there when the pass rush was coming at him. And then again, that cover 4 defense not being able to throw down the field. If you make him have those more conservative throws, you're going to have a better outcome there. And then if you have a quarterback on the other side of the ball to at least run this offense and get them going, I don't think it's impossible to stop Patrick Mahomes.
Here's what I'm worried about. I think I grew up in an era where we saw Joe Flacco's, Trent Dilfers, guys like this, the game manager, right? The game manager could win a Super Bowl. I don't think a game manager is winning any Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it's going to happen. And I
don't think Brock Purdy's a game manager, though.
I think he elevated himself beyond that, but you're going to need somebody to go toe-to-toe with him in these matchups, and I think that's the thing. It's like, who adjusts better than Andy Reid and the Chiefs? They didn't have Tyreek Hill. They lost all these amazing weapons. Their offensive line stepped up. I don't know. It's a question for another day. I don't know if we're going to be solving this just on Sin City Beat, because I already think Steve's phone is lighting up. I think people want to hire him as a consultant on some of these teams. Listen, Usher performed at halftime during the Super Bowl, and where does that superstar's performance rank all time? Well, we're getting the confessions from my panel. See what I did there? But before that, they need to let it burn during a quick break. There's 2 puns in that tease.
Those are my 2 favorite songs.
See, I did it for you. Usher's Super Bowl performance is officially the most viewed halftime show in Super Bowl history. The 13-minute performance recorded 129.3 million views, breaking the previous record set the year prior by Rihanna. Now, before we go, we need to talk about Usher and this halftime show. So where does this rank all time in terms of halftime shows? Mariah, is Usher your boo?
He honestly is. Especially when Alicia Keys was brought out, I lost my mind. I think what really added to it was the guests that he brought out for the performance. And I love how he set it up like Justin Bieber is going to perform to get all our eyes watching, knowing very well Justin Bieber was not going to perform. But he got some other surprises in there as well. Bringing back Alicia Keys, there was such a nostalgic feeling about this one. And it reminded me of SoFi Stadium halftime show with Eminem and Dr. Dre. And it had that same vibe. In terms of where it goes in the rankings, my number one was J-Lo and Shakira a few years ago, and 2013's Beyonce, because she brought out Destiny's Child.
See, I thought Shakira J-Lo was the worst ever.
Are you kidding me?
I thought that was the worst ever.
Do you have ears?
You better look back in history. There's some bad ones.
That was the worst. Here's my
What?
thought.
The Weeknd was like the worst, or Maroon 5, or whatever. Like that's
No, Adam Levine took his shirt off. I want to prop on that one.
What do you guys think?
Maroon 5 was terrible. I love the Weeknd one. They said they were going to go more relevant and have all these more relevant performers, and I thought Usher was good. I think he set a bar. It was fine. We can judge half or below, half or below. I like the Weeknd because that was the one that was popping at the time.
Roller skates were big.
the roller skates are crazy.
Listen, nobody roller skates anymore, number one. Number two, when it comes to like halftime performance, you're looking for the gravitas. Taylor Swift in the box was a bigger deal than Usher. So if we go back to Rolling Stones, we go back to Prince, we go back to Tom Petty, those are the people that grace that stage, and they're like, I'm basically at the most amazing concert of my life, and I'm also at the Super Bowl. That's what it's about.
Right, but also as a performer, you're paying for your entire performance. They pay you like
They don't pay you.
They pay you like $600 to go do the halftime show.
Because it's
$100 million.
You
though,
still
moving forward. That was the estimate in terms of new business.
But in the past, that has been what has scared artists away from doing it and taking it on, because you're building up your own show.
So I'm the old guy on the show. Prince is the best ever. The performance in the rain, and think about it. Football players talk about it all the time. I am willing to go on the field and die to get this victory. That guy is out there in the rain playing an electric guitar. He could have died that night.
He could have got a sore throat at the very least. I'm a big Prince guy.
Totally agree with the hip hop in LA.
Yeah.
An ode to greatness. That was awesome.
Case nothing on Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake. You don't want to talk about that?
That one would be below. That's Steve's wheelhouse. You asked him about that.
That's Mike's favorite. That one is Mike's
we
favorite.
joke about it, but on Sports Talk Radio, it ruined us for like 5 years because all of a sudden we were targets. Everything had to get sanitized. Because people were outraged.
Right.
A very small minority were
I actually
outraged.
thought some after that were really strong. I think Prince was a couple years after that. To speak for the, I guess, middle-aged to older white Caucasian target, I thought Bruce Springsteen had a terrific halftime show. I'm kind of a traditionalist that I don't need all these guests, although I thought Alicia Keys, I do agree, was the best
Loved
part
it.
of
I will
Usher.
still say I was hoping last year, I am an Eagles fan, but Chris Stapleton doing the Star Spangled Banner. I think
Post Malone crushed it this year.
He
That
did
was
a good
great.
job,
He
too.
did
I thought he did an incredible
and Reba,
job.
all right. It wasn't bad. I know a lot of people.
Reba's Reba. She delivered her standard.
It wasn't bad. Guys, listen, maybe next year one of us will be gracing that halftime performance stage. I think Steve can belt out some karaoke. I have a funny feeling. Listen, thank you so much. I want to thank my great panel, Case Kiefer, Steve Cofield, Mariah Janos. I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time on Sin City Beat.